Oh, not only is our guy, the Miz, Jacob Misiorowski, going to the All Star game, but he sounds like he's going to pitch at least an inning as well. Uh, the manager of the National League sounds like he's on board with the Miz making the All Star team. Not many people are outside of Wisconsin. We'll get to all that coming up next. And we're going to talk about the Major League Baseball draft. The Brewers made several selections, 22 to be exact. And we'll talk about all that coming up next on this edition of Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's a great time to be a Brewers fan these days, right? I mean, Brewers fever is very, very high. And I don't know. Has it been this high in the last 5 years at this point of the season? I just feel like with Jacob Misiorowski on the Brewers and Milwaukee creeping in on the Chicago Cubs within a game, it just feels a little different this year. I'm not saying this team's going to win a World Series championship or anything like that, but the way they're winning games, the excitement, walk-off wins, I feel like they have like a walk-off win at least once of homestand, right? It just seems that way. But there's just a lot of excitement around the Milwaukee Brewers right now, a lot of fun, and a lot of enthusiasm. Great crowds out there at AmFam Field, all 6 of those games last week. And you kind of, right now, you know how I am. I want to keep playing the All-Star. I've never been a big fan of the All-Star break anyway. Never been a big fan of the All-Star break because I think it goes too long. But I get it. It's part of the players' agreement with Major League Baseball. Used to be the players would come back on Thursday. Now they come back on Friday. They get an extra day. Anyway, got the All-Star break coming up. Camps to, I can't say a chance to regroup because the Brewers don't need to regroup. By the way, Chuck Freeman here. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Well, sometimes I forget to introduce myself. I assume some of you guys know who I am, especially you everydayers out there who watch this podcast on a daily basis. And this update by this podcast brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com. 50% off your first year with Monarch Money. By the way, thank you all you guys who've reached out and like DM me or message me on Facebook or right here or wherever. Telling me where you listen to and that you got this podcast on at work or wherever, man. I love it, man. Some of you guys are sending me pictures. I'm telling you, I honestly, I don't know if you realize how much that means to me, man, because without you guys, as I always say, there is no podcast. Otherwise I'd be sitting here talking to, nobody really, here in the middle of the night. So it's good that, you guys are consuming this and all that. And we're one big Brewers community. And I've been covering this Brewers team for a long time, a really, really long time. And it's about time that we've been winning here in the last couple of seasons and enjoying covering a winning team and bringing all the news to you guys on a daily basis. And I'm telling you, I can't tell you how much I really do appreciate it. And the fact that this team, 16 games over the 500 mark, creeping in on the Chicago Cubs as well. It is all good. Well, Jacob Misiorowski, it's kind of taken on a national spin these days, and some of the national pundits I know are just dead against Misiorowski making the All-Star team, and I could care less what they think. You've heard from the Phillies and all that. But June 12th, I was looking at his starts. Yeah, he had the one start against the Mets, but June 12th, he made his debut, and he pitched against the Cardinals, and he's been great. Now, I look at the numbers. The numbers are just outstanding. They are. And, these people out there who, number one, they look at – a lot of people look at the Milwaukee Brewers with a little disdain. And I think this is part of the thing. They look at here in Wisconsin, let's face it, people who don't live in Wisconsin or understand Wisconsin look at us in a different way, right? They think that it snows 11 months of the year. It's cold all the time. Well, it's really only warm like 2 months of the year. And that we just live in tents here in Wisconsin. But it's really a great state, and we support our sports teams really well. And we don't have a lot of championships, but we do a great job supporting our teams. And so I think people get, especially that city to the south of us, I think when we have success up here, especially with the Milwaukee Brewers, that kind of sticks in the craw of Cubs fans, right? They don't like to see, the Milwaukee Brewers, small market Milwaukee Brewers, where you got the third biggest city down the road, and they got to look up to the small market Milwaukee Brewers. There's no salary cap in baseball, yet the Milwaukee Brewers get it done over that franchise on a regular basis these days, right? And I think they're, like I said, it gets under their skin a little bit with Chicago Cubs fans. And of course, they're loud. I've seen Cub fans on Twitter today. They are loud about this as well. That Misiorowski should not be in the All Star game, and it's wrong. And this is not right. Well, Dave Roberts would agree too. But Dave Roberts, the National League manager, said at the press conference today that he understands it. He says it's an easy answer. Misiorowski deserves to be in the All Star team, and I'm going to get him in the game. And he says probably the 5th, 6th, or the 7th game. Now it sounds like the 7th inning. It sounds like the 7th inning is where he's going to be pitching tonight. So I don't even care if the Miz pitches in the All Star game. Or my guys get into the All Star game, because you know what? I think those are just extra innings that I'd rather save for my team, right? I mean, the fact that Peralta's not pitching in the All Star game, I'm good with that. McGill doesn't get in the All Star game, I'm fine with that. Misiorowski, as long as he's there, he's an All Star. Okay, yeah, it'd be kind of cool to see him in the game, but I want to save those innings for the Milwaukee Brewers. And the fact that we got 3 pitchers on the All Star game, on the All Star team, I think that bothers a lot of people, but too bad. The Brewers are 16 games over the 500 mark and deserve anything they get. And Misiorowski, according to Dave Roberts, the manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers and the manager of the National League, said, he's pretty much on board. He's okay. Now, let's face it, Dave Roberts isn't going to cause any controversy. I mean, the easy way out, even if he feels the other way, is to say, yeah, I'm on board with it. I'm going to get him into the ball game. Now, if he comes out and says, no, I don't think this guy should be here, then a whole firestorm, right? So even if he feels the other way, he's not going to say it, because it's going to cause a whole unwanted stress on his part, right? Because he's got enough problems trying to get the Los Angeles Dodgers back on track these days. Well, they did win 2 in a row this past weekend against San Francisco. Prior to that, they got swept by the Brewers. So he's got enough problems. So even if he didn't want Miz on the team, Dave Roberts is a smart guy. He's not going to come out and say, well, Misiorowski should not be on this team. And then, you know what, everybody runs with it, and that's more problems than he needs. He looks at it. It's an all-star game. It's an all-star game. This one does not count. It does not count for anything. So the Brewers are going to have a T-shirt giveaway coming up for the Miz. That's going to be coming up next month. I see they're going to be doing that. I don't know much about it. I believe, though, they're going to have something on the T-shirt in reference to Parkinson's disease. As you know that, or you may not know that Jacob Misiorowski's dad is going through Parkinson's disease, and this T-shirt's going to have some sort of awareness on it. So I think that's really good. That's all good. So I got a tweet from a fan today on Twitter, and it said that expect Misiorowski to get booed at the All-Star game. He's going to get booed at the All-Star game. You know what? It's not Miz's fault. The Miz was not politicking to get into the All-Star game, right? He was not politicking to get on this team. He didn't ask to get on this team. If you're going to boo him, boo the system. I mean, Jacob Misiorowski, guy's been phenomenal. 5 major league games, and he's going to get booed at the All-Star game? Petty. Booing at the... I'll be ticked off if he gets booed at the All-Star game. Not his fault. Nobody's fault. He belongs in the All-Star game. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball right now. My goodness. So leave him alone. Leave him alone. We put it into it. Misiorowski deserves to be in the All Star game. He's going to pitch. And I hope I don't hear any booing, because that would be petty. Very, very petty. All right. We come back. We're going to talk about the Major League Baseball draft. The Brewers drafted some high school players. They drafted the big bat with the 20th pick. We're going to talk all about it. Dan Zielinski is going to join us. Danny's from Baseball Prospect Journal. Great website. He comes on with us every July right after the draft. He lives in Milwaukee, former intern of mine. He runs a great website. He's been on numerous radio stations, and he's been a longtime friend of mine. And he's going to talk about some of the high draft picks, and he's going to wrap up the draft, what the Milwaukee Brewers have been doing here the last couple of days. We'll get to all that coming up next here on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. This episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Hey, man, if you're managing your money as poorly as I am these days, you want to get on board with Monarch Money. Because what I do, we figure out what we do, is we spend too much money going out and eat. And who tells us that? Monarch Money. It's more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, all your investments, all your spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you can also build wealth, because that's what we need to do, right? We don't want to live paycheck to paycheck. We want to know where we're spending our money stupidly, and Monarch Money does it. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money and save even more. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com, and you're going to get 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. You'll get half off your first year. Right? We all want to save money, and Monarch Money is going to say, hey, if you're spending too much money going to online shopping or movies or even sporting events, or going out to eat, monarchmoney.com. Again, use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. You'll get 50% off your first year with Monarch Money. All right, we continue on here on Locked On Brewers. We're going to bring in my man, Dan Zielinski, Baseball Prospect Journal. Man, you talk about amateur baseball, you talk about the draft, you're talking Dan Zielinski, my man, for the draft. We get him on every year, this time of the year, like Christmas. Dan, great having you aboard. I know it's been a busy couple of days. Appreciate you coming on.
Always enjoyed, Chuck. Always good to catch up and talk draft with you.
Dan, you're from Milwaukee, the Milwaukee area. You grew up here, and I know you follow the Milwaukee Brewers closely. Plus, you run this national website. Let's get to the Brewers and what they did here. And obviously, we're not going to get through every draft pick and all that, but we'll get some of the top ones here. But give me a lowdown of their draft philosophy. 14 pitchers of the 22 picks that they had in the 2 days.
Yeah, the Brewers kind of followed their recent trend, and they've really have preferred college position players early in the draft. And that's essentially what they did with Andrew Fisher in the first round. They took a high upside then high school position player with their second first round pick. And that's kind of the, tradition for the Brewers in recent years. They did that last year, and then they did it again this year. And then similar to last year, they really stocked up on pitching and took a lot of high upside pitchers as well. 14 of their 22 selections in this year's draft were pitchers. Last year, they took 17 pitchers. So the Brewers, as you know, Chuck, their organizational strength is developing pitching. And I think it's super smart for them to go early, get some quality position players, and then start loading up on pitching. Because especially in this year's draft, the pitching, once you got to the second, third round, there's a lot of parity among those prospects. So the Brewers got some really talented arms, some intriguing arms that I think with their development system could really thrive in pro ball.
Brewers really like those high ceiling high school players.
Yeah, they do. I mean, we'll get into talking about some of them, but it seems like the Brewers have really, they do a great job. The draft, a lot of it has to do with the signing bonus dollars. The Brewers had just over $13 million to spend on their draft picks. That $13 million can be used on the first 10 rounds, those players in those rounds, and then any overage after round 10. From 11 to 20. And the Brewers always do a great job of maximizing those signing bonus dollars and are able to sign some of these high upside high school guys that they take because of how they kind of maneuver that signing bonus pool.
Dan, I want to run through a couple of names here. Some of the high draft picks that the Brewers went through here. First round pick, Andrew Fisher. first baseman, third baseman, heard a little bit of both, read a lot about him. Home run hitter, great bat speed, 21 years old, played for different colleges, one of the best. The Brewers were saying that this is the best hitter in the entire draft. What you read on him? Did you have a chance to talk to him too?
Our staff talked to him. We had 2 writers dedicated to Tennessee this year, and Andrew Fisher is a guy we covered extensively throughout the year because he was such an impact bat for Tennessee. Honestly, had kind of a historic season for Tennessee in terms of their program and their program numbers. But 6'1", 210, left-handed hitter, above average raw power to all fields. The guy showed improved plate discipline as well. And like you said, Chuck, third baseman, first baseman, I really think he's destined for first base. That's where he played this year at Tennessee. And I just think overall skill-wise, that's where he's better suited. He's probably a below average defensive player at third base. He's got arm strength and good instincts, but he doesn't move that great at third base. I just think overall he's better suited for first base. But this is a guy that the Brewers took because of his bat. He can hit, and I think it's a really intriguing guy to add to the system because last year you took Blake Burke, a Tennessee first baseman. 2 years ago, you took Brock Wilken, a third baseman from Wake Forest, with their first round pick that year. So the Brewers have been stocking up here on corner infielders, and that's been – you don't draft for need in the draft, especially in the first round, but the Brewers have struggled at third and first base as a system and organization with developing those players. And now they add another high impact, high potential guy who I think in a couple of years could be a potential starter for this Brewers team.
Could this guy have been like a top 10 pick? Did he fall? What was the story? Because if the Brewers liked him so much, how come he lasted to the 20th pick of the first round?
Great question. It seemed like based on people I talked to that he was more of a late first round type prospect. There was some buzz about him being kind of going in the late teens, kind of around the Brewers pick. I honestly thought the Brewers could get him potentially at 32, especially with, like I said, the way they move signing bonus dollars around, that he could be in play at 32. So the Brewers talk about him being the best hitter in this draft class. I think he's in the mix. If he had some better defensive position versatility and skill set overall, this is a first round bat. Defensively is kind of what held him back in terms of being, instead of a top 10 pick, to middle to potential, back half of the, first round.
All right, let's get some of the others picks here. They have 3 second round picks. Brady Ebel, shortstop lefty from a high school, Corona in California. His dad, third base coach of the Dodgers, been around Major League Baseball. Read some stuff on that. I saw a piece that you had done. Not much power for this Ebel kid, although his nickname is Brady Barrels, from what I understand. Or was that just something I saw?
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that he's 6'3", 195-pound left-handed hitter, and he's a guy that really had a lot of success on the showcase circuit last year against premium pitching. Really showed a smooth swing, mature approach, and an ability to drive the baseball. He had a difficult spring, lacked power, hit a lot of ground balls, and really didn't impact the baseball like he did last summer, and that really caused his draft stock to take a slight hit. He went from maybe being top half of the first round pick to being available for the Brewers at 32. He reminds me a little bit, and not necessarily about the skill set, but more just the prospect status of a Bryce Terang from a few years back. Going into that draft cycle, Bryce Terang, he was the top prep player in that class out of California, kind of had a struggled throughout his senior season and fell to the Brewers in the teens. And kind of similar to Brady Ebel, a guy that a lot of teams liked going into this year, and then he just kind of didn't live up to expectations. It's going to come down to his power ability, though, because I don't know if he can stick at shortstop. He does have high IQ, and he's really smart, good instincts as a player. I just don't think he moves necessarily well enough to stick at shortstop long term, which then means he probably has to move to third base. So you're going to want to see more power than what he's flashed so far in his short, career as a high school player. But yeah, if the Brewers can tap into some more power for Brady Ebel, could be a really quality player down the line.
Dan, hang on for a second. I'm going to come right back to you. I'm going to ask you about a few more other second rounds and a third round pick. Dan Zielinski joining us. He is from Baseball Prospect Journal, our good friend, former intern of mine, and he's doing great things Who would have guessed? Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Good to have you along here on Locked On Brewers. This show today is brought to you by Supply House. You know, Supply House, I've talked to you about this before. There's guys in my neighborhood who go out there and do the stuff that makes this country turn, right? They do the plumbing, the HVAC, the electrical work. Supply House, a reliable way to order products online, and you can as well. They have a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 of the top brands. You'll find exactly what you need, delivered fast from coast to coast. Their customer service is great. Join the free Trade Master program. They offer exclusive perks, dedicated phone line, free shipping, discounts of any order, and thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. Again, plumbing, HVAC, electrical work. You guys who leave out of your house early in the morning and come back at the crack of when that sun goes down. Join that Trade Master program today, supplyhouse.com/TM. Start ordering plumbing, HVAC, electrical supplies, just a few clicks. Use the promo code SH5, 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers. My guest, Dan Zielinski. He is from Baseball Prospect Journal. We're talking draft. It's been a busy couple of days for him, and thankfully he's taking some time with us here on a late Monday night, early Tuesday morning. Dan, let's get to a couple more picks here. The Brewers went pitcher, a college pitcher, with their next second-round pick, J.D. Thompson, a left-handed pitcher out of Vanderbilt.
Yeah, J.D. Thompson is another guy we covered over at Baseball Prospect Journal, and I'm really intrigued by him, especially with being in the Brewers system, because he's a 6-foot, 205-pound left-handed pitcher, and he does a great job of throwing strikes. He really attacks the strike zone, and he's durable. He's a guy this year, his junior year at Vanderbilt in the SEC, 122 strikeouts to 30 walks in 90 innings pitched. Low effort delivery, compact, really commands his fastball well. It's only about a low 90s offering. It does touch 96, but I think the Brewers, with their development system, could tap in to that and get a little more velocity out of him. Really two good breaking pitches and a slider and a curveball as well, and shows some promise as well with the changeup. So really a polished pitch mix. He's consistent with his command. He's durable. This is a guy that profiles as a starting pitcher in the major leagues down the line. He might not be front of the line starting pitcher, but he's definitely a guy that's going to eat a lot of innings, have some success, and really be a reliable pitcher down the line.
Dan, another second rounder, Frank Carone, a high schooler out of New Jersey, a left-handed pitcher.
Yeah, you talked about early that the Brewers like to take those high upside pitchers. This is one of them. Frank Carone, 6'3", 215 pounds, left-handed pitcher, and he's someone that kind of really jumped up draft boards late in this process. He participated and threw at the MLB Draft Combine and had a strong showing there. And he's a guy who's young for his class and, like I said, made a lot of strides. Last summer, he was only throwing in the mid-80s. His fastball touched 94 this spring, has kind of a unique delivery with a low arm slot, but makes it work with the fastball, a breaking pitch that's really good, and also has a couple other pitches that are kind of in the works. Someone who, needs to throw more strikes, has a lot of room to improve, but definitely a high upside pick here for the Brewers.
All right, Dan, in the third round, they picked a pitcher out of the Coastal Carolina. We saw in the NCAA tournament, a right-handed pitcher, Jacob Morrison.
Yeah, Jacob Morrison, another college guy, 6'8", 245 pounds, right-handed pitcher. Really, yeah, he's a big guy. He missed all of last year recovering from Tommy John surgery, but he came back this year, had a lot of success, didn't really walk anyone in over 100 innings, had only 23 walks in just over 100 innings. Needs to probably improve his ability to get some swing and misses, but he has a 4-pitch mix, fastball that touches 96, and then he mixes in a slider, curveball, and a changeup. So another polished arm that I think with the Brewers development system can take it to another level, but another guy like J.D. Thompson who can eat a lot of innings and have some success because of his polish that he had in college.
Dan, they made 17 other picks. Obviously, we're not going to get through all those, but anything stand out to you in those picks at all? Anything intrigues you?
Yeah, I mean, like we talked about, they took a lot of upside high school pitchers. There's a few that really stood out to me after the 10th round. One was Cooper Underwood. He's a left-handed pitcher out of Georgia, a high school kid, 6'2", 185 pounds. He's committed to Georgia Tech, and a lot of scouts thought he was probably going to be destined for college because coming into this year, he was only touching 90 miles an hour. Saw an increase in that to the point where he was averaging 90 miles an hour with his fastball. He has an above average curveball, one of the better, curveballs from the prep class in this year's draft. Mixes in a slider and a changeup. He's athletic, repeats his delivery, and throws a lot of strikes, which is something you want to see in a high school pitcher. I'm really intrigued by him. I think the Brewers, we talked about signing bonus dollars, and this is where it comes into play here. The Brewers take high school pitcher in the 12th round. They're going to sign him for above slot. And I would expect the Brewers to land a couple of these guys they took after the 10th round. I want to say last year they signed 4 guys after the 10th round. I would expect a similar number to that. And he's one of those guys I think the Brewers definitely should and hopefully will, for their sake, sign. Another one came right after that in round 13. Gavin Lerdeson. He's a right-handed pitcher out of California. Bigger kid, 6'5", 200, USC commit, but he's just like the prototypical starting pitcher that you kind of imagine. Projectable, he's athletic, great makeup, and he really has quality stuff. Low 90s fastball that touches the mid 90s, misses a lot of bats with that pitch, and then also mixes in a quality slider and curveball. Also has a changeup that shows a lot of promise too. So those are 2 high school arms that I really like. And I think if the Brewers can sign those 2 guys and steer them away from college, this is going to be a successful draft for the Brewers.
Well, the Brewers got to be successful in the draft. As you know, Dan, lifelong Milwaukee Brewer fan yourself, this is where you got to make your bones. I mean, every major league team's got to do well in the draft, but especially Milwaukee's got to hit on these things.
100%, and that's why I like that they're taking pitchers, because the Brewers have this proven track record of developing pitching, and with a team and organization like the Brewers, you need to be able to develop guys to use them either at the major league level or to trade them to acquire talent for the major league roster. So I like what the Brewers are doing with the pitching aspect, and we'll see how it pans out.
Dan is freezing up toward the end of this. Not freezing up, he's getting nervous, but it's the internet connection is freezing up a little bit. Dan, Baseball Prospect Journal, get him at Twitter as well. He's always got terrific stuff to say. Dan Zielinski, Dan Zielinski 3. Dan Zielinski 3. Look him up on Twitter. By all means, follow him on Twitter. And go to his website, baseballprospectjournal.com. Dan, always great talking to you. I saw we talked at the end of October last year. I don't know what that was about, but maybe we'll hook up at the end of October or whatever. I don't remember. What did we talk about at the end of October? There was no draft back then.
We were talking Brewers prospects, Misiorowski, and some of the other guys. So,
before I let you go, I mean, you've covered this kid, Jacob Misiorowski. What do you think?
Yes, I've been surprised. I mean, I was extremely high on Misiorowski. I was frankly surprised that the Brewers hadn't called him up sooner. Mm-hmm. Did I ever expect him to be, the second, on track to be the greatest pitcher in Brewers history? Not necessarily, but he's off to a great start so far. Definitely is going to run into his ups and downs over the course of the remaining part of the season, but I like the potential he has. That fastball slider combination is just deadly. And if he can continue this, it puts the Brewers in a great spot come the trade deadline and potentially the playoffs. So exciting player for the Brewers. Dan, you've been a friend and a colleague and doing great work. Baseballprospectjournal.com. Appreciate it as always. And we'll catch up in late October again. Always enjoyed, Chuck. Always great to catch up and talk Brewers with you.
All right, Dan Zielinski, baseballprospectjournal.com. This is Chuck Freeman. Got to go. Again, thanks for making us your first listen every morning on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day.